Start. Okay. Amazing. I see people joining. That means that we've done things properly. Super. Okay. Hi, everyone. Thank you. I'm Stephanie Gellman, product manager of online leads with Royal LePage Canada. I am so happy today to have a special guest speaker, Elena Saradidis, award-winning team lead from Royal LePage Signature in Toronto, Ontario. Thank you, Elena, for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so Elena is here. She knows a lot. She's an expert on many subjects, but today we're here specifically to talk about how to be successful in real estate by working and closing rental leads. Okay. So before we get started, just a couple of little logistical things for everybody. We are recording this session, okay? So it will be emailed to you probably tomorrow, probably not today. So if you need to leave early, don't worry. It's all good. You can watch the recording. If you have questions, you can throw that in the Q&A section. You can also use the chat to say hi to each other. Maybe, why don't you say hi? Tell us where you're joining us from, that kind of thing. But if you do have a specific question for Elena, I ask that you put it in the Q&A because it might get lost in the chat. Yeah, okay. So let's get into, oh, look, we got some people saying hi already. I love you guys. Okay, I'm going to say a few shout outs to folks. We have Anne-Marie from Montreal, Lucia from Victoria. Oh my God, it's going too fast. Okay. We have Aaron from Acton, Barb from Toronto. Oh my God, I can't follow. We have lots of people. We have 86 people here already. Oh my goodness. And the number is coming up. Okay, so hi everyone. Okay, so let's get started. Elena, can you tell us a bit about yourself, how you started in real estate, the company that you first started with, and how you came to join Royal LePage?
Definitely. So this is a little bit like a little bio about me, I guess we're starting with. So I started real estate in my second year of university. I got a summer job to help start a real estate brokerage, and I did all their back end. And I fell in love with doing real estate and told my parents that I'm not going to be not going to be a doctor. I was pre-med. I'm going to go into real estate. So it didn't go over very well.
Love that, right? They were like, that's a great idea.
Well, imagine European parents. You're telling them you're not going to be a doctor, you're pre-med, you're going to go become a real estate agent. It did not go over very well. My mom basically said, I am going to be homeless. And my dad was like, this is why she shouldn't have worked while she was in university. So I still decided to get my license. In my first year, my goal was I need to hit 150,000 pre-tax. That way I would make it clear six figures. And that was my goal because I said, if I'm not going to go to medical school, I need to actually make money doing this. So I very heavily grinded in every single transaction in my first year. I did almost over 100 rentals in my first year of real estate.
Wow. Okay. So you had some strong motivation for success.
Yeah. Well, I couldn't afford to fail because then I broke my parents' heart for absolutely zero reason. So first year was make six figures, get 100K. Next year was double it, double it, double it. So I've been in real estate for 7 years now. I am a chairman's agent. I've been in chairman since I've been at Royal LePage. And when I was at my previous office, I was their number one agent for as long as I could remember. So my first year was in their top 10. My second year, I was in their top five, and my third year I was their number one agent, and then I continued being number one until I moved over to Royal LePage.
Amazing. Well, we're really happy that you came to us. Uh,
I'm
um,
happy to be here, which is why I'm still here.
That's right. Okay, and you came to RLP, you joined Royal LePage, and you formed a team.
Yes.
So can you tell us a bit about who your team is and what your team is all about?
So as of last week, we have 9 agents, including myself, and we have 3 full-time admin, and then we have a part-time intern.
Amazing,
Yeah.
amazing. Okay, and do they all work rental leads?
They all work rental leads. It's the rule on the team. If you're not making at least 300,000 a year, you can't complain to me about doing a rental. You
Okay,
have to
I
do
like that. I
it.
love that. Okay, so minimum 300,000.
Yeah.
Okay, super. So That's great. This is really, setting the stage nicely. I know you have some slides prepared, so I guess we'll jump over to those and you can walk us through everything that you've made for us. And yeah,
Perfect. Are you going to pull them up or do you want me to pull them up?
why don't you do that if
Okay.
you're okay with that?
Give me 30 seconds because I'm
And then
not tech savvy.
well, if you need me to, we can do that. You can tell me and we can do
Give me
the
1 second. Let me see if I
next
can click
next
present.
thing.
Okay. And then let me see if I can. So I did this presentation back to the chairman's agents at Summit. And it's the same presentation that I was asked to do today. If anyone does have any questions, just chime in. The data has not been updated since then. So any information that you guys want updated, just send me a quick message. I can pull the stats for you again. But at that time, this was what was happening in the market.
And it wasn't that long ago, so I'm sure we're fine.
So CO1, CO2, CO8. So in the downtown Toronto core, this is what we were seeing in terms of condos for sale. Tenanted condos represented 942 units. Non-tenanted was 4,567. Now, any tenanted condo was an opportunity that you had to either put a tenant into that property or represented the landlord. So those are opportunities that you could have had those listings to put up for sale if you were working rentals. Now, the chart after, we did rentals to sales. So these are clients that I worked with for years, and at the time, listings that I was currently holding or currently have. Fort Trefford was a client that originally came to me about renting one of their properties. I rented out their place in the beaches for them years ago. Then they asked me to sell it. Then I rented out Trefford for them. Then they asked me to sell it. So multiple transactions came out of me just helping them on the rental side. 47 Mutual is actually a developer who completed the building. We got the contract to represent them for 37 unsold units in the complex. Those units came from just helping the developer rent out his own personal units. So if you do a good job on the rentals, they tend to come back. And it works both ways, on the tenant side or on the landlord side. If you help a tenant move into a property and the landlord sees what a great job you've done, odds are the landlord will also turn to you in the future. The tenant should also come back to you and buy with you in the future. So there should be multiple transactions coming out of every rental deal you also do. The same thing happened with 55 Ontario. It was actually given to me by a commercial real estate agent who his friend works with me to take care of his rentals, his residential rentals, and told them that if they're going to sell a property, they should use me. So he put up that listing. And the same goes for all these other properties that we had on the market. The best was probably Echo Island. I have a client who owns quite a bit of real estate, and I've been renting out all of her properties for years. Eventually, she got tired of being a landlord and started selling some properties. That also led to one of my bigger listings, which is Echo Island, which is available for $4.9 million. So rentals do lead to sales. It's just about how you work the rentals. And every deal, no matter how small it is, could lead to a much bigger transaction.
And I don't know how many folks took the time to read, but we sent out a renters report not that long ago, right? And it actually our data, our Royal LePage data, it showed that 54% of Canadian renters say they plan to purchase a property in the near future. And actually almost a third of those folks plan to buy within the next couple of years. So like you said, you work with these people and you treat them right. When they get ready to buy, well, you know who they're going to.
Exactly. And the trick too is not just to take care of your tenant that you're moving into a property, but their landlord. Just be very, very professional when you're working with them, because behind every tenant who is moving into a property is a landlord's agent that may or may not have worked the deal properly. Because most agents, they get really busy and then they stop wanting to do rentals. And that's an opportunity for someone that's a little bit hungrier to come pick up someone else's client. I'm not saying go poach people, but if you do the job right, you will inevitably get clients. So basically the funnel, investment properties, lease listings, and then leads. So we work with a lot of investors. The way that we pitch it to them is we property manage all the properties that we take care of. So if we make it really easy for you to invest with us, we'll take care of the rental for you. When the rental we put up, it generates a bunch of leads for us. And then the leads that generates from that comes to future buyers, future rentals, or the future sale of that property. So there is a funnel of if you're working rentals properly, you'll end up making a lot more money out of it. So back in 2024, our team did 377 leases. That is way more sales than what we did. Like that's way like we're rental heavy, and we made it
Yeah.
into chairman's being rental heavy. So it is not rocket science, but every single transaction counts, and all those people eventually will buy with us, will rent again with us, will sell with us. So work your database, work your clientele, and then it will slowly compound into bigger transactions.
Now, one thing that I find a lot of people don't think about, or maybe they overlook, is they think that the commission is not substantial enough. But when you do the math on that, I mean, now that was 300 and change divided amongst your team, but like, can we talk about the commission, how it is actually, it makes sense?
So the average rental in Toronto is probably about 2,500, but to make things simple, let's say it's 3,000. 3,000 divided by both sides, 1,500 each is the commission that you would technically make. It's passive money. So on rental deals, you get paid a lot quicker than you do on sales. So you can use your rental income to sustain your lifestyle and then your sales for your savings or for your future investment. So
Ooh,
anyone that's
smart.
yeah. So anyone that's completely brand new, has never done real estate before, or someone newer that's just trying to get their bearings, you don't have to get a second or third job. It's a way for you to learn inventory, go around to all these buildings and work with your future buyers and sellers. So pick up these clients, take them around and learn the inventory. That's the best way I can explain it to you. If you do get the opportunity to represent a landlord, though, doing it this way picks up a lot of landlord clients. So we do detailed vetting reports. We pull credit on every single application that comes into us. We send out welcome packages to the tenants. We CC the landlord so they see everything we've done. And we organize the key exchange and the landlord packages. So we do all that. Do you want me to play the video? Did you watch the video?
Yeah, it's lovely, sure.
Okay, let's see.
You're a landlord in this market. If you are not using a real estate agent to vet your tenant, these are the things that you need to be aware of. I'm getting fake credit reports. I'm getting fake employment letters. I'm getting fake tax returns. They're faking every single document known to man. First thing is there is an app called Laborly. One of my clients used to use it before they got me, and you pay a certain fee to it and they'll do a background check. They'll pull the tenant's credit. Hopefully that company still is around, but if it's not, use a real estate agent, we can pull credit. Fake credit does occur. And I can tell you this, in the 10 applications that I'll get, 3 in 10 are fake, which is kind of shocking because more and more people are forging their credit reports. And even on the bottom of credit reports, what has started to appear is a line that says, caution, this person has been known for submitting fake credit documents. Now, the second thing that you have to be aware of is landlord references. The first one that they give you is not as important as the last person that they lived at, because that person has nothing to gain. If you're a landlord and you have a crappy tenant and you want them out, aren't you going to give a glowing review? Probably. But if you're a landlord that already got them out, are you going to give them a glowing review the second time around? Not likely. The other thing that I do and my team does, we check Geo Warehouse to make sure that the person that they put on the application actually owns the property. The other thing that people need to be cautious about is employment letters. Probably one of the original documents that was faked the most. I want an actual company email address that I can email to verify the employment letter. And oftentimes we'll email their HR department. Like, we want to make sure nothing was forged. And we provide copies of all of this to our landlords, all of their references, all the background information, and then they can make an educated decision on whether or not they want to take them.
So
That's
believe it or not,
amazing. I just got to say, I think it's really cool that you guys have added this as another product, a service that you offer, because not many people have thought to do that, but you saw that opportunity. And I think that's really, really smart.
and you'd be surprised how many clients I've picked up just by sending that. So I'll have a conversation on the phone and I'll be like, okay, you have a property you want us to take care of. Here's what we do. And they're like, okay, here's the keys. Please put it up. Like, you've sold me. You're doing a lot more than most people are doing. People are scared, especially in Ontario. There's very strict landlord, like the landlord tenant board very much falls towards the tenant side. So to be able to tell a landlord, we do a lot to make sure that you don't end up in a not so great situation, it makes them want to work with you.
That's a valid real valid point, because yeah, it can be scary to be a landlord these days.
And then when the landlord gets tired of being a landlord, they sell with us.
Exactly. There you
And then
go.
we get all the leads that go from the listing of the rental. So it all compounds into more transactions.
Amazing.
So why you should be taking on rental opportunities, you gain market knowledge, you're discovering different buildings and neighborhoods, and you're kind of getting paid to do so. Like you take someone out, it might cost you 2 hours, you might see 5 places, but if you're making $1,000 after that, your hourly rate's actually pretty good. So
I'd be happy with that.
Sorry?
I would be happy with that.
I think they're switching jobs after this,
I
but
know.
if you do take the time to actually take on a rental, you're learning while getting paid to learn. So you get to know these neighborhoods, you get to know the buildings, you get to know what type of product and inventory is out there. And then when you do have an opportunity where you meet a buyer, you meet a seller, you already know about the inventory. So it does help. And also it practices negotiation on a smaller scale. Like you can, I don't want to say mess up a rental, but if you mess up a rental, we're not dealing with hundreds of thousands or $1 million worth of losses. It's a smaller scale. So practice on the smaller stuff until you work up into the bigger
Yeah,
transactions.
that's so true, right? Because yeah, I would be heartbreaking to, screw up, or however we want to phrase it nicely, on a very high value listing. Um, I was hoping that we could, no, actually, I'll get to that after. Okay, sorry, go ahead.
It's all right. So when you get a rental opportunity, you're going to pre-vet them anyway, but the number one question that will get you the most amount of conversion from a rental to a buy is just stating this. Out of curiosity, have you thought about buying? And you'll already know if they qualify because you know their income, you know their credit score. If they have savings, make it casual how you ask it. But most people that you ask, they either think that the media has given them that picture that they'll never be able to afford to buy, or don't know that they actually can buy. So our little story time is once upon a time, I had a client reach out. I didn't know them. They were online. They reached out about a rental that was about $2,800 a month. And I went and I met up with them and I walked in. It was not in the best condition. It's a little scary. And they looked very well put together. And I said, out of curiosity, why are you renting right now? Like, have you thought about buying? And they said, we'd love to buy, but we just don't think we can do it right now. Like, okay, well, if you don't mind me asking, how much do you currently have saved? And they told me they had $100,000 saved.
Oh,
They didn't think they could buy. And I said, well, how much do you guys make? And they told me how much they make. Both of them have amazing jobs. And I go, do you mind if I just call a mortgage broker right now and just have a quick conversation with them and see if it's possible for you to buy? Because I think it is. They had a conversation with the mortgage broker. Long story short, their budget ended up being $850. We did a sale instead of a rental. So those
beautiful.
clients are still with me and they've referred me more people. But it was a random person that inquired online that ended up buying a property with me. So there is opportunities out there and you just have to position the questioning right. And that's one of many. Like I've had people buy off of like coming in as a rental all the time. They just don't know they can buy.
Because they just don't understand, I guess, their finances. They don't understand the options.
Well, it's the media. The media makes it out like buying is very, very difficult. No one's going to be able to afford to buy. It's a very challenging process. Like I've had clients that have bought with me and been like, we don't think it should have been that easy. So something must be wrong. And I'm like, it's actually this easy. It just, everyone makes it out to be like it's harder than it actually is. Like, how much do you have saved? How much money do you make? You can get approved. And that's
Now,
the
what
question
about,
you need.
have you ever told anyone, like, maybe now is not the right time?
I have. And let's say, for example, they tell me how much they have saved or what their income is, and it's not there. I have told them, like, why don't we look at a cheaper rental and move you into something that will allow you to save money faster? Or why don't we move back home to mom and dad? Because 2 years of you living back home will end up saving you enough to buy. Or why don't we move into a basement apartment instead of this, whatever? Why don't we move into a studio? Like save money and then get in. Because if home ownership is your goal, there's a way to get there. But if you're spending too much and you're not able to save for the down payment, you're putting yourself further and further behind.
I can imagine the shock of somebody if they said to you, you know what, instead of renting a place, move back home and save some money. They would be,
Parents love me.
well,
Parents
it would be
love
shocking,
me.
right? Because that's not what they would expect a real estate agent to do, right? But but it's like you see the long game. You understand that it's not just about the now.
And that's how I've built my business. So even now in a market that, a lot of people are struggling, our clients are still very solidly our clients. We still have listings up, transactions are still happening. And I do think it's because in the best of markets, in whatever market, we were very honest with what advice we gave them. And we never pushed people into any kind of transaction.
Now, what about referrals? Have you ever received a referral from, maybe I just know I'm going to be a lifelong renter. Could you get a referral from me maybe? And how would you ask for that? How do you go about,
So that's actually, there we go, nurturing
oh,
leads. It's the next slide.
love it.
So everyone gets put into the CRM. We do a lot of client events for our clients. The rental clients are included in that, especially if we know they're in our, A sphere of people that do have the friend group or the work group that could potentially transact with us. Just because the lifelong renter rents doesn't mean their friends are lifelong renters as well. They could potentially buy. So we check in with them after they move in. We check in with them like 6 months after as well. We follow up with them 100 days before their lease expires. Are you planning to stay there longer? Do you want to move? We send them birthday notes, and then we do client community events. So we invite them and we always tell them to bring a friend. So it's a very organic way of let me meet your friends and your friend group. So they could potentially also do transactions with us. And then we always give them seasonal gifts.
I
So
love number 4. Follow up 100 days before the lease expires.
because you have to give 90, like there's notices that you have to give. So 100 days, the reason why it's 100 days is because if you're a landlord to do a rent increase notice here, it's 90 days. If you're a tenant, to give notice that you're leaving is 60 days. So we're trying to line them up to, if you're planning to give notice, you need to know now kind of what your goal is. So you don't miss the date to actually give notice and you're stuck.
I love it. That makes so much sense. Now, what about making use of people that you meet along the way? I feel like you told me something about, we had a bit of a joke about, you're not going to be chasing people down the hallway. I'm a real estate agent in a building, but nevertheless, you can make connections with, doormen at various buildings, other residents there.
I would say this, you never look better to a client of yours than when you're walking in, and this is very specific to condo buildings, but when you're walking into a condo building and the concierge knows you. Because your client's like,
Okay.
oh my God, they must transact so much. The concierge knows them, the building knows them, they're so nice. Like you get instant rapport, like rapport with your client. You get instant, I'm missing the word. Do you know what I'm talking about? Like
Yeah, just like right where they're going to
credibility.
trust you. They know that they're in good hands. Validation, Sherry's saying. That's a good
Yeah.
word.
The
Absolutely.
credibility. Like instantly they know that, you work the area, you're actually active as a real estate agent. People know who you are. So it is a great feeling when you walk into a building and the security is like, oh my God, Elena, you're back. I'm like, how are you doing? How are the kids? How is everyone? Like they love,
Yeah.
and the clients are like, oh my God, you must really do a lot of real estate. Like just be nice to security and remember their names. Like I remember when I first started, I had a running list on like notes on the security guard's name. And every once in a while, I'd even ask them like, how do you drink your coffee? Next time I come, I'll bring you coffee. And they'll remember you. And it's a
Love
small
it.
thing, like it's not anything big, but it's small. And they like, it's a nice gesture because they get a lot of people coming to them all day and it's not the greatest job in the world. People are quite mean. So having someone that's friendly and nice and happy to see them, they're always going to go above and beyond to help you.
I love it. That's so great. So I see a few questions here from some folks. So I want to put them up for you to answer. I couldn't answer them. So one of them was talking about the property management stuff that you do. So the person asked, are you managing the property through the lease on behalf of your landlord clients?
Yes. So our landlord clients, depending on who it is, they've asked us to take that on. They don't want the headache of having to manage the rental, so we take on the management of the rental. And it also helps us maintain a level of control of that property, because it's less likely that that person that we're managing their property is going to use a different agent when they're not really the one communicating with their tenant on a daily basis. So if the
Yeah.
tenant has an issue, they call us, they don't call the landlord.
Wow. Okay. So you guys are you're very hands-on. Um, okay. Now I had somebody ask where you get your leads from. From
Okay.
where are you getting leads?
So when you're brand new in the market, so again, this is 7 years ago, not so much anymore. Now it's kind of a repeat referral basis, but Zumper, PadMapper, Facebook Marketplace, asking other agents in your office, odds are the busy agents don't want to work the rentals. If they have rental listings, just be super nice to them and be like, hey, you don't want to do them, let me do them. I'll take care of it all for you. And like, I'll send you a referral fee or I'll do whatever. So when I first started out, that's really a lot of what I did. I talked to the other agents at my office too and was like, you have rental leads. You don't want to be running around rentals. I'll take the rentals for you. So
Yeah.
talk to the people in your office, post listings on Facebook, Zumper, PadMapper. I would say Kijiji, but it ends up getting a little sketchy. It used to be a thing. But go on those platforms, it will help. And if you don't know what kind of listings to advertise because you don't have any listings right now, ask agents at your office if you could advertise their listings. And also you can ask other agents if you could advertise their listings as well. That's the little check mark on MLS.
Wow, that's a lot of really good advice. And it's true, right? I'm sure if you just ask around, there'll be somebody who will say yes, please, right? Because for some reason, well, I mean, for a good, luckily, not everybody understands the gold in these because otherwise everybody would want them. If you guys, if you have extra Toronto leads and you don't want them, you just send them to Elena,
We'll
right?
take them.
She's more than happy to take them. And speaking of areas, somebody, Samta, has written, how should we decide about the areas to work with for rentals? Should we focus on a particular area?
I would
Okay.
say focus on your area. So wherever your immediate location is that you're transacting. So your neighborhood, I would focus there and then eventually expand out because you don't want to be driving to Timbuktu for a rental. It gets to a point where it's not worth running to the middle of nowhere. I don't want to say the middle of nowhere, but the middle of nowhere to get a rental deal done. But the backyard of like where you're currently living is a great place to start. Like where
Yeah,
is very easily accessible to you.
that's a really, really good point because even though the payoff is more immediate, it is smaller. So yeah, you don't want to be driving, hours away or whatever. That's a lot.
And God forbid you
Um,
have to go twice. Like keep it relatively close to where you work, where you live, so it's relatively easy for you. Plus, you want market knowledge in your market.
Yes, exactly. I can't tell you how many times I've seen folks working outside of an area that they really understand, and it's just not the best situation. Now, along the topic of area, not a question, but a comment that I have is I've had some folks say to me, well, that's all fine and dandy for Toronto, but what about the rest of the country? Because Toronto is special. Toronto has big rents, but I have to say, uh, rental prices are going up everywhere as far as I have seen. So I think it could be lucrative pretty much anywhere. It's quite remarkable the way rental prices are going up faster than sales prices.
You're right, they are. And again, it's faster money, but there are some provinces that it's not common to use agents to look for rentals. So it really is province based and how that market operates. I can only speak on Ontario and in Toronto. And like this market, it is a great way, especially if you're brand new, to start building up your client list.
Exactly. Now, I know a few folks have commented during the session, and then a few people reached out to me beforehand about, licensing and regulations. And yes, in some provinces, agents may do residential sales and leases. In other provinces, there's other regulations and rules. And, I'm not a legal expert. And as Elena said, she knows Ontario, but she can't comment on the other provinces, right? So if you have
Also,
questions about your provincial regulations, you know who to reach out to for those answers. That's your broker of record.
Also, if you're in a different province, something that might be of value is to reach out to rental buildings and see if they'll be open for you to host a seminar there on what it would be like for next steps of actually home ownership. And they might be on
Ooh,
board because they also want some sort of turnaround. They don't want people in there forever paying lower rents. So they might be open to you coming in to talk about home ownership and next steps and how to get into the real estate market.
that's amazing. I love that. That's full of great ideas. Okay, another question about the property management. Do you charge extra for managing properties? I would assume you're not doing it for free.
We do charge, but it's a very minimal fee, and it's not equivalent to what a property management company would charge you. It's solely just for our clients. So we've had external people ask us to property manage for them. We won't do it. It's for people that work with us.
Okay, so it's one of those, nice signing bonuses of working with your team. That's really smart. I like that. Okay,
Exactly.
cool. A question about Pad Mapper. What is Pad Mapper?
So it's kind of like a rentals.ca, which also is a great tool if you want to post rentals on that site as well. It's an online platform that tenants use to locate apartments. And again, it might vary province to province, but in Toronto, Ontario, it's pretty prominent. It's also known as Zumper. They have two
Okay,
websites.
cool. Good to know. I love it. Okay, I have a question about door knocking. That's okay. What are your thoughts about door knocking? Do you think it's
My team has
effective
to
these
do it.
days?
I
Huh?
make them.
You make people door knock. Okay.
Again,
It's
it's the rule of thumb. If you're not making a certain amount of money, and
yeah.
like in all honesty, there's always room to make more money. There is. So like there's opportunity. And it's not just about there's a way of door knocking that works for everyone. I'm not a traditional door knocker in terms of like, would you like to sell your home? I might have a buyer in your name. I'm not like that at all. I We're very strategic in the pocket that we live, in the pocket that we transact. Those are the neighborhoods we're hitting. And I went to a Tom Ferry seminar a couple years ago, and someone came up with the idea of seller seminars, teaching sellers about what it's like to sell their property.
Ooh, smart.
So I kind of took that idea and made it a little different and made it a neighborhood Q&A. So we run neighborhood Q&As in the area that I live, and our pitch when we're knocking on anyone's door is we live in the neighborhood, we own in the neighborhood, and we don't want people to undersell. So you don't have to use us. This isn't a sales pitch to use us, but if you want to talk to us about what we think your property is worth, so you don't end up underselling, talk to us. If you need contractors, trades, anything, talk to us. Like we're here to be a resource for the neighborhood, but and then like you don't need to use us. And let me tell you, it has resulted in listings. It has happened, but when we approach people's houses, it's never about we have a buyer looking for your house. It's about we're trying to add value to the area and to the community. How can we help?
I think that's really great because most people just really don't want to be sold to, right? It's just a big old turnoff. Um, okay, here's a question. What are the red flags you look for when screening tenant leads as part of pre-qualification?
Okay, so first step, and we actually just did this little seminar just for our team internally, how to vet tenants properly. First step, we always pull credit. So credit report, anything under 680 usually doesn't get accepted by our landlords. And income-wise, less than 40% of your income goes towards rent. Now, sometimes you can pull credit and the credit could be different than the credit that they were giving to you, but the numbers shouldn't be drastically different. So like if someone submits a credit score of 804 and you pull it and it's 520, that's not normal.
Yeah,
No,
that's a
but
big
it
difference.
happens. So just be cautious of those things. You'd be surprised how many people will change like the person's name on the credit report. So it is a real credit report, it just has someone else's name.
Oh,
We had it recently where we pulled a credit and at the bottom it said, please call this number to verify that this person actually has this credit. And we called and they basically said, no, someone in Toronto has been trying to rent out a property using my credit.
oh my
It wasn't
goodness.
real. So like,
Wow.
yes, I do use Equifax. I just saw that in the little chat button. We do use Equifax to check people's credit.
Okay, amazing.
I
So,
have heard of One Key. I'm seeing that also in the chat.
yeah,
I have heard of it. I've had clients in the past use it. We vet very extensively, and they're okay with us just doing it ourselves. But
okay,
the same stuff that I kind of said in that video of what we do to vet, that's what we do.
amazing. Now,
Also, Google everyone. That is the best thing.
Google people,
Google everyone,
like
because
your
you'd be
leads.
surprised what you find, and people don't have their profiles private. So if they, tell us that there's no dog and there's a dog in every single photo, there's a dog. Like you'd be surprised what people have on social media and what they have open to the public that will tell you a very good idea of, should we take them or not?
That's amazing, and on a side note, as realtors, make sure that you Google yourself periodically and that you're happy with the results. Because you don't want to have any surprises coming up. Okay, so somebody asked if you have any kind of like a checklist or a list of questions that you use on qualifying agents that you could share with us. Is that something that exists that you're able to share, or should folks just be taking notes as we're talking here?
In all honesty, do you want me to send you a template? Would that be easiest? Or do you want to, if there's someone
I don't need it right this second, but if you have something that can be shared, that would be amazing, and I could send it to
why don't I
folks.
do this? I just put my email in the group chat. It's info@elenasaradidis.com. Just send me an email, title it with like tenant vetting, and I'm an agent, so we know. We're gonna put it all in one folder. That way it doesn't crowd my inbox. We'll put it all in one folder, and I'll send out what our report kind of looks like. And that way you can see what we see on our back end, how we fill it out for our landlords.
Okay, that's perfect. That's so
Yeah.
generous. I love it. Okay, let's see. We have so many questions. I love it. Okay, so somebody's asking, Farzad wants to know the specifics of how much you charge. If you can, for property
Message me.
management, for property management, and specifically, I guess he wants to know, and maybe you don't need to do the actual number, but do you charge per square foot? Do you charge a flat fee to your
So
property, your landlords?
I charge a flat fee per door for our landlords. That's how
Okay.
we've been doing it. And then when it comes to whatever is needed for the property, so emergency situations, everyone has a different tailored contract. So it depends on also my relationship with them. If they're like, just fix it, treat it like your own, it's a little different than if they're like, we want approval on every single thing that could potentially happen while we have the property.
Okay, so it sounds like you have kind of tiered packages.
Exactly.
I love it. I love it. Um, don't worry, anyone who didn't catch your email, because maybe they're losing it in the chat, I'll send it to you when I send you the recording. Okay, so
Also,
it's all
I'll be in Nashville. So if you want to see me in Nashville, come see me in Nashville. And you can ask me all the questions you want. I'll have my laptop.
That's right. Yeah, so don't forget that, folks. Okay, so let's see here. If you have an exclusive lease, may you post that on PadMapper? Do we know? Do you know if you're able to post exclusive leases on PadMapper? I don't know. That might be a question for the
Exclusives you're allowed
platform.
to advertise. They're just exclusive. They're not on MLS. In our market, we have been fine with it, but it varies depending on if, for example, it's new construction and the builder says you cannot advertise it, because then anywhere you advertise it is not allowed. That's
Okay,
tough.
yeah,
So
that's fair.
I would say talk to your broker of record for that.
Okay. I like this. When someone asks you why are you rejecting them, what do you say?
As little as possible.
That's fair.
As
Yeah,
little as possible.
yeah. Because you don't want to burn a bridge, right? They might be they might be a future client, right? Maybe today isn't the right day for them. They're having some financial issues, but uh, okay. Let's see here. Do you send a tenant's application to a landlord's review prior to doing showings?
So between you and me, I absolutely hate it when agents send me tenant profiles without vetting it. And we had a team meeting this morning and we talked about it as a team. I think when an agent has a couple listings on the market, they're more receptive of send us the paperwork. But I think when you're carrying quite a bit, sending the paperwork before and asking the landlord or the landlord's agent to pre-vet the offer before you've even seen it is a really big ask. My recommendation is at least see the property first before you send the paperwork. Or if you think that the client's not 100% perfect, then just call the agent and be like, listen, my client's not perfect on paper. This is what they have. Would your landlord even consider them? If they would, then we'll show it. If not, no worries. So that's a very easy one, but pre-qualifying questions, be ready to answer. So how much they make, where do they work, what is their credit score? Because if the agent on the other side is asking you those and you don't know the answer, it just doesn't look perfect.
Okay.
And it happens
Yeah.
a lot. I get calls all day, every day being like, will you take my client? And I'll ask, what do they do for a living? And the agent will be like, I have to recheck. I don't know. I'm like, please just check. And then that way I can give you an answer.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. And I like along the same lines of that, I sort of how Veronica's asking, how do you not lose track of tenant? For example, a good property will get a lot of attention in a very short time. So how do you keep things organized?
Spreadsheets, follow-up boss, and I have a really good team of admins.
Yeah. And I think you hit the nail on the head. We sort of touched, but barely touched on leveraging technology during your session. But I know that one of the things that you and I talked about is how you use Follow-Up Boss. It's a great system, right? And you have a whole process and all that jazz added to it. And everyone at Royal LePage, you guys all have a CRM at your fingertips called RLP Sphere, right? So if you're not using something else, then use the Sphere. And if you're using something else, well, use that to manage your rental leads, and then you'll never lose track of anybody. Okay, what about renting for newcomers? There's been a few questions about, do you do anything special or extra? Are there extra considerations?
Look, if you're
Um,
representing a tenant, and they're a newcomer, what you need to stress to them is the rules in your area for landlord and tenant board. So in Ontario and in Toronto specifically, landlords are less likely to take risk. There are landlords out there that will, but some of them will ask if your tenant would voluntarily provide more rent. So that's a question you should have with your client beforehand. Legally, the landlord can't ask for it, but if your tenant is willing to volunteer it, it might ease the situation, or guarantor. Is there someone that they're friends with, family, cousin, someone that can go on the paperwork with them that makes good income and has good credit that would guarantee their rent?
that's a really smart idea. Yeah, yeah. Um, and I guess kind of along the same lines, I don't know, there's a question about international students. Have you,
It's the same thing with international students. What we usually see come across our desk when we're representing landlords is people offering us the full year up front. It doesn't always happen. And also the landlord needs to be very comfortable with it, because what happens after that year? Um,
yeah, that's actually a great question because
and
somebody asked.
what Susanna Porter said, it is true. If the tenant basically asks for the money back, legally you have to give it. So it comes with great risk if a landlord wants to take on a tenant that doesn't have paperwork. So guarantor is really the best thing to do.
Huh, okay, good to know.
Someone else asked how do we access Equifax? Depending on your office, again, talk to your broker of record. My office, I'm at Signature, they'll pull it. We have to have a signed rental application for it. Just so you know, anytime you work with a tenant and they sign the rental application, there's a line at the bottom, and you should explain it to your clients. It says that whoever you're submitting this to has the right to pull credit. It says it on the actual rental application. So just keep that in mind. Educate your tenant clients that that is going to happen and most likely going to happen. And then on the listing side, your office may offer that to you. So just talk to your broker of record or talk to your office manager and see if they have an account with Equifax. Someone said, why Follow-Up Boss over RLP Sphere? I didn't start at Royal LePage. I started off at a different office. I was already with Follow-Up Boss. I just never switched. I'm a creature of habit. It takes me a long time to make any changes.
Fair. You know what? Like I've always said to people, just use the system that works, right? And if that's what's working for you and you're happy with it, go for it. You know, if you don't want to spend a couple $100 a month, then you could use the one that RLP is providing for you. But, you know, there's pros and cons to different systems. Absolutely. What happens if somebody renews their lease? Do you get to cash in on that again?
Look,
Or
it's
is it just a
technically in,
one-time deal when you first sign with them?
well, if you were in commercial, usually, in residential, you can put it in the paperwork that you get paid on renewals. I personally don't charge my clients on renewal because we charge on other avenues, and we charge whenever the tenant has changeover, but we don't usually charge them on renewal. And again, that's just us, but I know there's other people out there that do.
Okay, cool. Um, oh, and then, okay, so we have more questions about specifically how do you nicely tell people why they weren't chosen for a property? Do you have any specific, you know, a sentence or something nice that folks can
I would
replicate?
just say the landlord has decided not to proceed with your offer. They didn't give me any more info. That's the best way. Because
You
again,
know, good.
anything that you say, like, could come into human rights, could come into, like, you have to be very, very cautious with what you say and how you say it. It's best to say very few words, like, I'm so sorry, we tried. The landlord unfortunately decided not to work with your offer.
Yeah. I think that's a really, really smart idea to just not even get into the details. You don't want to open that can of worms.
I know
You
that
know,
sounds bad, and everyone always wants the details. But again, it's hard to be the person to say that you didn't get it,
yeah.
but it doesn't ever work in your favor too when you explain like, well, we pulled credit and it was fraudulent. Like you can't,
We
no,
found
but
out that
like,
you're a fraudster.
no, but we called references and a reference said we would never rent to them. We
Yeah.
called, like we looked them up and we realized that the person that is applying to us doesn't match the description. Like that
Yeah.
has happened. I know an agent, it didn't happen to us, thank God, but I know an agent that the photo ID was fraudulent and they looked it up and the photo ID doesn't actually match that individual. Like we do Zoom calls with every single person if we get to the stage that we're ready to accept them to verify, are you actually you?
Well, because you have to also think about your personal safety, right? It's not just about the transaction.
No, but
Somebody is
someone,
is is misrepresenting themselves. Well, God knows what's going to happen. You
well,
go and
someone could give us a fake ID, fake information, fake everything. Come to Key Exchange. We don't know what they look like. They grab the keys, they're in.
yeah.
Like, who did we rent to? Like, we want to know. In
Absolutely.
Ontario, because someone's asking about pets, in
Mm.
Ontario, technically a landlord can't prevent you from getting a pet once you move in. If a pet magically appears, like a pet magically appears. No, but it's true. And
Yeah.
any pet, like no pet rules are void. The only time where a no pet rule is valid is if you're in a condominium building and the building in the rules and regulations for the building has no pet bylaw or has strict rules on like how many pets, what the size are, whatever it may be. It can't contradict the building bylaws, but the landlord can't technically tell you you can't have a pet, but they can decline you for having one. Like they can say no if you put the application. They can say like we're not going to take your offer, but after you move in, there's nothing they can do in Ontario.
Okay. And I
Yeah.
guess that's why some people lie.
But I'm a pet friendly landlord and I'm like a pet friendly agent. If I know about it, I'm good with it. If I don't know about it and I find out about it, I know you lied about it. So like it's always best to just be upfront with what's happening and like we'll work with you as opposed to us figure it out and then be like, so there's a dog. You didn't tell me there's a dog, but there's a dog. And like we're cool with the dog, but like what happened there?
Exactly. Okay, wow, so many questions. Okay, let's see. There's some questions about single key and single key offering rent guarantees up to 60K if the tenant they vet is, but what is single key? What is this?
It's an online platform. Like you can pay for it and
Okay,
they'll do, their vetting and they'll
I see.
guarantee rent
Okay.
for certain
You guys don't
amounts.
do that though. You
We
you
don't
do
use
your
it.
own.
Yeah.
Okay, you do your own process for vetting. Okay, there's a question about Canada Ontario housing benefit. Is that something that you ever deal with?
Look, it's rare. I think in the span of us having like this rental side part of our business, we've probably had like maybe 2 or 3 applications that have ever had housing benefits. But it's rare that it comes across my desk.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, People saying I had clients worried if they pulled their credit info, it would affect their credit score negatively. Is there any truth to that?
Look, it could potentially, what I usually tell people is it's healthy to at least check your credit.
Yeah.
And when I represented the tenants, at least back in the day, what I would tell tenants is I would recommend either you let us pull the credit or we tell the other side that we've pulled it and we directly email it from our office if that's your concern, because then we could say, our office pulled it. Here's a direct link from our office that pulled it. That way you don't have to pull it. Or I email the agent saying, listen, like we're happy to pull the credit on our end. Or if you're planning to pull it regardless, pull it on your end so we're not double pulling. So
Okay,
like,
because when it is
yeah,
done frequently, it does affect folks.
exactly.
Okay, amazing. Um, okay. Wow. Well, this is good. I mean, there's so much good information that we've got here. Do you have any like final words of wisdom and any thoughts of like what can somebody do today if they want to start working rental leads? What, if I said to you, Elena, you've inspired me. I'm doing this. How do I start? What should I do?
I would start with the agents in your office that have rental listings and see who could use help because everyone always needs help. And if they don't need help, ask them if you're okay to advertise their rentals and hopefully get them a good tenant and see how that goes. Usually, inside your office will always be nicer than the outside community. So start internal and then work your way out. If you need more listings to put up on different sites, ask agents for their permission to put it up.
Mm-hmm,
You
mm-hmm.
said, what about Airbnb and short-term rental referrals? Should we consider those?
Mm.
Um, I used to run an Airbnb. I used to have one too. Um, us working it on the management side is not profitable enough for us. Short-term rentals, we definitely do them. And again, it's usually, for example, during basketball season or during baseball season, because we're in Toronto, there's a lot of players that come into town that need something short-term that are furnished. We do it. But the Airbnb stuff we don't do, at least not
Yeah,
anymore.
that makes sense. Okay. Let's see. I see there's a question from Ed in the Q&A about the CRA, but I think that might be a little technical.
I feel like that's
Um,
for tax people
yeah,
and for broker of records. I'm so sorry. I'm just
yeah,
a
no,
realtor.
you read my mind. That's exactly what I was going to say is that's a question for your broker of record and or your accountant. Okay. And let's see here. Um, Okay, I guess, Tina asking about the going referral fee for a rental. She just says no, thank you. Okay.
Honestly, most agents, and this is bad to say too, most agents will just let you take the rental leads, offer it, but most agents will just be like, just take the rental lead.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not a lot of money in the grand scheme of things, that referral amount. And if they get a good tenant out of it, they got a good tenant out of it. And you could always tell them if they transact in the future and buy or sell with me, we'll send you a 25% referral at that time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, I love people are writing more questions. They know we're coming to the end, right? We have a couple more minutes, right? So you can throw in more questions in the Q&A as we wrap up. And if we don't get to it, don't worry. You can always email us after the fact.
Or
Okay,
find me
so
in Nashville.
yeah, I definitely find her in Nashville, right? Do some line dancing and have a blast because Nashville is the place to be. Okay, so let's see. Do you do full vetting for tenants before taking the time to show them the units? Because you don't want to waste your time with someone ghosting you or such. That's a good point. I guess that's more of a statement than a
So
question, but yeah, can you tell us about that?
We don't do a full vetting when we're representing the tenant. We do a full vetting when we're representing the landlord. On the tenant side, though, and all my team does this too, they'll pre-qualify them with a couple basic questions. How much money are you making? Do you have your employment letter? What is your credit score? Do you have access to it? Do you have your last 3 pay stubs? Send me all your documentation. So as long as you have the documents, there's less likely to ghost you because they've sent it all over to you.
Yeah,
But,
no,
like,
that's a
basic
good
questions
deal
on,
of
like,
vetting. Yeah.
you know, can you afford the rent, but how much money are you currently making and what is your credit score? So you know too, how easy or hard is this going to be?
Yeah, absolutely. Like you're right. If somebody goes through that much effort to send you all those documents, everything that you're asking, I'm pretty sure they're serious. I don't think they're going to just not show up. Cool. Thank you. Okay. So listen, folks, we're going to wrap it up. Okay. You guys are amazing. Elena, this was such a fun session. Okay. I don't know about you guys out there in the Zoom world. I hope you are very inspired by this. Okay. I hope that this inspires you to make some changes about how you view rentals and how you work with them. Okay. Thank you so much, Elena, and we will be in touch. Okay. I will reach out to you shortly. And yeah, thank you. Thank you so much.
No problem at all. Thank you all.
All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye.